retention, how to retain them. First of all, engage your talents. Engage with social work, engage with social projects, internal, external projects. As I said, we work with schools, universities, other companies, professional associations, and so all that stuff. Second thing is a leader. You have to invest in your people managers. The main responsibilities, or my expectations towards people managers are that we ensure proper development and performance management. I mean, at least in the project management area, we can ensure 15 years career. So you can be safe, or you can have challenges for 15 years at least. I mean, and still, it's not this doing same things. It's different scale of the projects, different regions, different clients, different responsibilities, and etc. So people manager is the one who helps to retain our talents by challenging them, by setting challenging goals, by helping to plan career and putting a development plan together to achieve those goals. Assignment rotation. You don't need to leave CSC in order to change the environment. One day you work in Denmark, another day you are in Sweden, and in 2 months you can move to France virtually. Because most of the work is done virtually. We're talking about virtual leadership, virtual project management, virtual challenges, virtual projects. And it doesn't mean that you have to stick to your office. You can move around. I mean, you can move around. You can one day you can spend, I don't know, you can spend in London, you can spend in Denmark or other countries you want, and you can do the same job. You have the only thing you need is an access to an internet and the PC and the phone. It's conference calls, mails, messengers. That's it. That's all that you need when you have an access to all systems.
What is the vocational education you have to go through to be able to take either of these types of jobs?
One of the first steps is here. I mean, we started an orientation intro session to CSC as a company. Yes, we have graduate program, it's for 2 years. We have internship program, it's for 3 or 4 months. But as I understood, we don't want to spend so much time on this.
In my field, it doesn't take a formal education to get in my field. So it takes a certain kind of skill, and it takes a certain kind of, as he said, motivation, willingness to learn. So if someone came to me and said, I have no education, but I want to get in cybersecurity, how do I get started? I would say, install Linux. No, seriously, that's what I tell myself. Install Linux and learn Linux, or install Windows and learn Windows. You can do that on your own. You don't need an education for that. You can read a book about Linux for dummies, right, and get started with that. Then you can go on to, I need to learn about security for Linux, for instance, and get started with that. And then you can say to me, hey Jeff, I have a question about this or that. How do you guys deal with that in your job? And that's kind of a way for me to help somebody who's young and wants to get into the field, who maybe doesn't have a formal education or doesn't kind of know where to get started, to help them along the way. And so in some respects, or you can say, hey look, you can go to a company you can say, hey, I have 5 young people who are interested in project management. They just want to tag along with somebody at your company. And you can make an arrangement with CSC Baltic, CSC Denmark, CSC Sweden, to just spend 1 day seeing what it's like. And that's how it gets started, because I understand that there seems to be a hurdle, because it seems like, okay, you need the education first before you can even get in the door. But the way to get in the door is to just ask somebody and get started. I mean, that's what I did. 5 months later, I ended up in Denmark, right? It's a very strange way how it worked, but that's how it is. If you reach out, if community organizations reach out to corporations, because we're looking for younger people, and of course, it's from Denmark's or Sweden's or Lithuania's broader society, it's important for them to get young people involved and young people into the job market, right? Because most companies are looking for people and can't find them. And like he said, it's very expensive to train an employee for 2 years and then have Barclays just steal them 2 weeks afterwards. Like, oh, thank you for training that guy, we'll take him. Right? So we want to keep young people engaged, young people involved, because we think it's very important for not only for the company, but for their own growth as people.
So the directives right now is employment and volunteership, and being able to have vocational education. So if we want to take this education, we work with dashboards, we're working with open source WordPress and blogging. So we don't know if it's the same as the back office platform that you're working on. So how do we learn that this is the same comparable platform or how to take the education. 'Cause, I mean, I've heard of Linux, I've never used it, so I don't know what you said.
So user network. Are you using social networks, professional social networks?
I think the difficult thing is that when you're dealing with, say, corporations, we have lots of things going on, and we can't know everything, right? So sometimes it requires someone from a non-formal education to reach out and say, hey, you know, there's a gap here. Like, okay, Jeff is talking about this, but we have a gap here, and how do we make that gap smaller so some of our young people can feel like they don't have this huge hurdle to jump over? And usually we'll end up having someone from the corporation will say, oh, we hadn't thought about that because we hadn't addressed that as a gap. Thank you for pointing that out to us. And then you start from there. That's how I think it really works. So certain things are above my level in terms of making a job fair, for instance, CSC. But I can at least say, hey, you know, we have some youth organizations that are interested in doing this, and they see a hurdle here. How can we help them with that? And then someone at CSC can take that as a task and run with that.
I mean, you guys, you're sitting here, you have your goals, your targets, you're looking for a professional career. Is it computer sciences or not? Are we limited only to computer sciences? So the ones who see themselves in the computer sciences, we should start targeting companies like CSC, corps or startups, professional associations. I mean, you should start building your network. Which roles are you interested in? Is it project management, or it's cybersecurity, or it's a platform? If it's platform, okay. What area? Is it the Windows, or it's Linux, or other platforms? I mean, start working on this. If you need someone who can help you with the career planning, some mentors, or etc., use CSC, use myself, use Jeffrey, use others. I mean, use your network. I mean, before asking questions, first you should ask yourself what you have done to have your career, to get an opportunity. I mean, to get a chance to apply for any opportunities. What you have done.
Certain things require you to have a formal education. We can't necessarily help you with that. That's something that the government has to take on. This is why you have free education in Europe, right? But getting from the non-formal education to the formal education, that's kind of, I think, what you're talking about, right? And the only way I can see that really working, and this is just my own personal belief, this is not a CSC thing, is you have to find a way to find someone who can help you along the way to navigate that path.
Yeah.
Because if you have a non-formal education and you see the formal education looks like it's way off in the distance, you feel like you can't get there, right? So you need to find somebody who's going to help you along the way to maybe say, hey, maybe you should try this, or maybe you should try that. You know, people, it's a competition on some level, right? So when you go for a job, myself included, if I go apply for a job in cybersecurity, I'm competing with my peers. And then it becomes, how do I distinguish myself from them, right? So you need to have an extra skill or something like that. So when you're trying to get in the door, the most difficult thing is getting in the door. And so for some jobs, you'll need a formal education. If you don't have it, you're just done. But there are other jobs which don't necessarily require a formal education, which require experience. And then what you need is you need the same thing that I had when I started my career, which is you need someone to actually give you a chance to show what you can do. If you're someone who wants to be a lawyer one day, and you know a friend of a friend who is a lawyer, just ask them. You know, you have to kind of be a little bit pushy, right, for what you want. You have to be a little bit, not pushing in an offensive way, but pushing in the sense that I'm very interested in this career, and I need to go chase somebody down because, you know, if you're not motivated to go ask somebody, why should they help you, right? If you come to me and say, oh, I'm interested in cybersecurity, but I never hear from you, why should I take you seriously, right? So people with non-formal education need to go and reach out to people and say, hey, I'm interested in this. Let me just come to your job for one day and see what you do. And if you show up, they're like, oh, who's that person? And then before you know it, you can develop a relationship with that company, and maybe it leads to something, even if it's just volunteering.